Opposing this amendment before us, I just thought I'd mention some of the pragmatic reasons for that. It mandates dollar-for-dollar parity between defense and non-defense programs unless there's a 60 votes to overcome a point of order. It's not limited to discretionary spending, which will be in the FY 2022 appropriations bills, but in all federal spending. Let me tell you what that means. It may make people feel good, but let me tell you what it does. If you provide $1 to the Defense Department for every dollar of non-defense spending, well, that's simply arbitrary. Listen to some of the absurd results. Under this amendment, if we passed an infrastructure bill through reconciliation, and we know that in the states represented by all 100 of us, we have roads, bridges, water systems, everything else breaking down, deteriorating, and it has to be fixed. If we don't do it now, it's going to cost us a heck of a lot more in the future. So let's say we have $2 trillion to rebuild our bridges, our roads, our water systems, broadband, and so on. Well, then we'd have to automatically provide $2 trillion more for defense, nearly tripling the defense budget, spending more in defense than the rest of the world put together. And the Department of Defense says very frankly, there's no way they could spend that kind of money unless we had 60 votes, a supermajority. Well, come on. I'll give you another example when this can get really weird. Suppose a hurricane hits somewhere in the south, and we've seen that happen, hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding. Or you have massive fires that rage out in the west. So, as we've always come together in the past, Republicans and Democrats alike, to help those communities that have been destroyed. We are the United States of America. And let's say we provide $10 billion, which we have in the past, to help communities recover and rebuild. Well then, even though they don't want it, we'd have to provide $10 billion to the Department of Defense. And why are we spending that? Because they had a flood in Louisiana, or a tornado in the Midwest, or an earthquake in the West, or a forest fire. Well, we rebuild them, but we got to spend an equal amount Department of Defense whether they want it or not. Give you another way. Let's say we increase funding for veterans, which we should. Well, then we'd have to say, wait a minute, the Department of Defense would have to have a dollar for dollar increase. And I could go on and on with a whole lot of other examples. We're going to have to obviously address the costs and the efforts that we went through here because of the riots on January 6th. Do we do an equal amount for the Department of Defense as we repair the damage done to the Capitol? Now, why don't I suggest that we do what we were taught to do, and I've seen the Senate do over the past 40 some odd years. We actually have a debate about appropriations. Have a debate about the defense level, and then vote them up or down. Have a debate about non-defense spending in FY 2022. Then vote it up or down. Not start off with some arbitrary rules, which make no sense. An arbitrary rule that says, we're probably going to have to hesitate to help out communities that have been struck by a tornado because we have to spend twice as much money as it would cost to repair those communities because we have to put an equal amount into the defense budget, whether they want it or not. Now, Mr. President, I can say this as chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee. I understand some annual increases in the defense bill, but that should be considered as the defense bill, just as we should consider our health care bills, just as we should consider infrastructure bills, education, all those. We can easily do each one of these appropriations bills that makes some sense to the American people. In the past, many times we've been able to get bipartisan agreement. Let's do that. Let's stop playing like children with some arbitrary, you give me this, I'll give you that kind of rules. We're United States senators. We should be above that. We should be the conscience of the nation. There's only 100 of us. The country looks at us. We ought to respond to the country. And I don't see others seeking recognition at the moment. I just had another thing. The House representatives did the right thing. They passed in a bipartisan vote to have an independent commission to find out what happened on January 6th. What sparked it? Who was involved? How many crimes were committed? Why did police officers who protect the Capitol lose their lives? Why did others lose their life? Why did we have a huge amount of damage? Why did we end up spending hundreds of millions of dollars? Why were the lives of Republican and Democratic members of Congress put at risk? Why not do, as we did after 9/11 and other major things in our country, have a bipartisan committee to look at it? And that's what the House voted on last night. I'm disturbed when I hear Republican leaders, both in the House and the Senate, say, we don't want to have any kind of a hearing. We don't want to know what happened. We don't want anybody to ask a question. Well, Mr. President, I don't know about your state, but I can imagine you probably heard a lot of questions from the people in your state. I heard a lot of questions from Republicans and Democrats alike in my state. Basically, what in heaven's name has happened? We're the greatest country on earth, and we're seeing our symbol of democracy with a mob of people going in, people dying, properties being smashed, people posing for selfies. Hey, I'm breaking the law. Don't I look great? A gallows with a noose and the Vice President of the United States' name on it put outside here. Come on. We ought to find out what happens. We were shamed throughout the world by what happened. Let's not have that happen again. Let's have a real committee, find out what happened, who's responsible, and see what steps we take not to have that happen again. I'm proud of the United States Capitol. I've had the opportunity to serve here for decades. I remember coming through this body as a teenager with my parents and be awed by it. I looked at the Brumidi paintings with my Italian-American mother and the pride she felt looking at that. I looked at other things with my Irish father, Irish-American father, and the pride he had in the history. All of us did. I have taken Vermonters of both parties through here, enjoyed it, pointing it out, and everybody feeling the sense of history. And so what do we see now? A lockdown Capitol because of the insurrection. And we don't want to actually ask questions. What is this? What is this? Why don't we all just cower under our desks and say, well, we can't ask a question. I'm going to hide down here. I see nothing. Oh, come on. The American people saw plenty. Let's have that. Let's have that committee. Let's have that commission. Let's find out what happened and make sure, for God's sakes, it never happens again. I yield the floor.